Hi, this is Sheila with Conscious Conversation Central, and today is Thursday, January the 3rd, 2019. And wow, you know what I'm noticing?
What?
This is the second Thursday in a row, and it's so different.
Yeah.
Because BZ is usually at agility.
I just got up very early.
Yeah, early. That's cool, though.
Yay!
So, I am, of course, joined, as you might have already figured, by my good friends BZ Rieger and Lisa Flemino Rush. And we're going to talk about step out of the frequency of questioning and fully light up your frequency of knowing. That I can feel that energetic within me, actually. I was saying to Lisa, say what?
The stepping out part, or the lighting up part,
more solidly in the knowing part, and being willing to claim that instead of will I think, or it feels different. It doesn't feel as wishy-washy.
Flippy floppy?
Yeah. Oh. I see what you did there. Yeah, no, that's right. Not as flippy floppy.
That's for certain.
And also, it doesn't feel like, I mean, I still go through the process that I have been going through, but it feels like it's speeding up. Yeah, that's what I would say. It feels like it's speeding up, like when I feel into something, I feel it, and it's not as, sometimes it can feel vague for a while, but I just allow it, and I eventually feel what I was supposed to get from any given situation. And then it's more solid. All of it just feels more solid in the knowing.
It's true. He's wiggling a mile a minute at what you just said.
Keegan's wiggling. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Well, he is a star dog.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I've been having some, some memories, and they're coming in very solid. So
nice.
It's interesting to me that Keegan's having a, reaction to that, to my voice, I guess, is what I'm feeling. Cool. Okay, wait a minute. What's going on here? What?
Well, I was pausing to see if the noodling that's going on around in certain energy fields over there is going to come on out and play, or wait a little bit longer.
Oh, are you talking about in here?
I'm just talking because we got a ching, so I'm just hanging out.
I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, but I'm feeling very uncomfortable in my body all of a sudden. I can tell you that. So,
okay. Lisa, you got anything that you want to jump in with, or the team wants you to jump in with? Maybe a better way to phrase it. Yeah.
I'm not really sure.
Okay. All right. Well, it could be someone else who's in the envelope who I'm picking up.
Okay.
Well, there is someone else in the envelope, but I think that that someone else is partly rattling around over in here. It's like I've had some sort of a, I'm going to call it a merging this week, and with another aspect of myself. And that's why I said I feel different within, just inside.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I meant when I said I was feeling a bit uncomfortable in my body there for a moment, because I felt really squirmy.
Well, let's play for a moment then with the frequency of questioning. So there could be that when you play with that, is it the frequency of me questioning me? Is it me questioning myself in reaction to how I'm interacting with others? Is it me questioning, why haven't we seen X, Y, and Z? What's going to happen? How's it going to unfold? Where's the new earth? All those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And I think if you could do it a couple ways. You could play with that. You could actually notice what your kind of a perpetual train that's coming, out of your voice box, out of maybe in your thought, ego mind process, the train's spinning around in here, or it actually, comes out of the voice box, to look at that. And then you have some moments, because it's, if one acknowledges it and one stops for a moment to notice it before they, kind of blow it off, you can notice that you have, at the very least, little tiny seed lights. Have you ever seen little lights, Christmas lights, but they're tiny, tiny, tiny. They look like, they're called seed lights. They're just little things, usually on a little copper wire. But you have little tiny seed lights of knowing. And since they're not really all that bright yet, comparatively to all the shouting that's going on with the questioning, right? We brush them off, or they get buried, or, that kind of thing. So just playing with the two parts of that is helpful, because especially if you feel into, so from a tool-wise perspective, if you're feeling into, well, 2018 was supposed to be this great year, and I had to sleep a lot, or I didn't feel good a lot, or geez, everybody was driving me cuckoo a lot, or, fill in the blanks. And so, all right, it's the new year now. What's so the questioning comes in a whole lot of different ways, but in each being who is standing more in the questioning and less in the knowing, there you'll find that there are threads. There's a propensity for certain flows and threads in those questioning. So what I'm asking with this is to come through for each of us, to play with, wrapping up so the question period is done. We're going to wrap up the questioning now. That's all done, and step fully light up the knowing period. So, there are times when you have a question and answer, and you may say, well, okay, we got the mic here, and we're going to want everybody to come up, and one at a time you're going to go through and ask your questions. And then we've got them all written down about them on the screen, and then the beings that are here, for answering those questions are going to see them, going to light up for them, and they're going to give you their knowing. You are the same. You walk to the mic and ask the question, and then in your connection with that, it lights up and you have the knowing of it. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And that's what I think I meant when I said I feel more solid in my knowing when I have a question and I get an answer. Mm-hmm. When I ask myself a question and I get an answer, I feel more solid in the knowing. It's not okay, so it doesn't feel like it's less of a trusting. Okay, now that I know that might sound weird, but I don't have to trust it if I know it.
Right.
So, I just automatically trust it. So it's not an issue.
So can you step out of the questioning frequency and just light up the knowing? So skip the whole questioning.
Yes.
That's okay. Kind of what the whole dance.
Well, yeah. So that's what I've been moving to from the questioning, the sitting around and pondering, to actualizing it. And to me, it is that, I like how you said that. It is a stepping up, isn't it? Because you sort of have to, step into your superpower now, where because you're not just sitting around and supposing anymore. And it's right here. It's like when I said to Sheila the other day, the team. The team is how we hold it. Right? It's not an external, it's not, tiny fragments of me. It is just me stepping up and embracing all of me and trusting. And I thought I wasn't trustworthy. And what is so interesting is that by trusting myself 100%, I proved to myself that I am the only one I can trust. Wow. What a trick. When we don't trust ourselves, we're just simply keeping ourselves from ourselves.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So you just beautifully described, you may do a back shuffle to go back in a little bit in the frequency of questioning, but for the most part, you're stepping out of that frequency.
Right.
Well, see, I gotta be honest here. I'm a little, not confused, maybe a little confused, but you see, I guess I'm late to the party. Okay, I'm late to the questioning party. Let's put it that way. I never really did do much conversating and
okay.
Back and forth.
I see. Hang on. I see what you're doing here. Can I say this? Not that.
I'm sorry. What? I just love the way you did that.
Okay.
Welcome to the Every Conversation.
No. Okay. I've lost the conversation.
I see how you did that.
Yeah, but what was she doing? What were we talking about?
She was obfuscating and dancing around.
No, I was not.
No, but there was a point. Oh, poof, I forgot.
I will be happy to reiterate.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Let me just say, it's not like I have always sat around and questioned myself and had conversations with my soul
No, okay, but
so,
okay, so here's what I caught it. What you did do, however, was focus on letting the doctor decide. So maybe it wasn't the same pondering, but we're talking about energetics, right? Okay, so the questioning, you didn't trust yourself to take care of your own medical care. No, you trusted the doctor. So I'm going to say that's the equivalent. So if you had the time that we had, that's the natural progression of the same energetic of the questioning. Yes, I can sit and talk to, I've taught myself how to channel, right? Or have some form of conversation, which now I'm seeing as a handicap. And you're seeing it as, wow, you can do that? Okay. So what I'm referring to is an energetic, not so much the actual where you're stuck, where I'm stuck now.
Well, I know that I know that like I said, I'm aware, and I know that I was holding what we were referring to as my connection or whatever to myself as something wholly different than what it is. Number one.
Yes,
number two,
and me too.
Right, and number two, I do see that my communication feels sometimes so seamless that it's like escaped me altogether, that I was actually, you know what I mean? So
yes, me too.
Maybe but I do still have questions, I guess is what I'm saying. And
So
I don't see, for me, there be an issue with me asking questions of myself and then getting answers and feeling and into them and knowing that because it's graduated from oh, that can't be right. There is still a little bit of that in some things, but I've come to, at this point, I can't.
It's just a switch of energy.
What?
It's just a switch of frequency. This topic that we're talking about doesn't say, now you have to stop asking questions.
Right.
Cut it out.
Thank you.
Okay? It doesn't say that. And just be a know-it-all. It isn't what it says. It says to step out of the frequency.
Okay, thank you.
Of questioning.
There are people out there.
Yeah.
There are people out there that are saying, do you know who you're talking to, BZ?
Yes.
There are people that are saying, have you met Sheila? Are you sure? Okay, but I get where you're going with that. Okay, I'm sorry.
Do you know where I'm going with that? Or you have a question where you think you're going?
No, I understood. I think I took issue with the word of questioning because I still question myself all the time.
But what I'm saying is that it's a different frequency.
Yes, I get that now.
You're using a word and you're hung up on the word because you like to collect puzzle pieces. Yes. and ask the question and then ponder it and puzzle it and move the pieces around and then go, oh.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is that's a frequency.
I got
in doing that. The questioning is a frequency.
Okay.
And when you step out of the questioning frequency and you let your knowing frequency light up, one of the ways I would start first to describe that is something you said a minute ago, that your connection was different than you thought it was, and it was so close before sometimes that you didn't really notice it.
Seamless, yes.
Yes, okay. So that's the same with this. Not the not noticing, but the knowing is seamless. So this is not accurate, but because it's different frequential bandwidths, but you could say that you're asking the question or questioning of something, and the lighting up of that frequency of the knowing comes, well, in linear you'd say after, but that's not, they are, when you have it's very hard to explain in a linear way. Okay, so when you're flowing from a linear perspective, or you look at things linearly, like, well, how do I know if I can't ask the question? And that's then in the frequency of the questioning frequency, which is you're small, which is you don't know much, which is there's always something outside of you that has a better answer. Like your soul or
yeah. See, we were
frequency, but different words, different setup, different scenario, but same.
Well, yes, it is a different frequency, and for me, it's in context of the conversation. I should have asked for clarification, because I am, by the very nature of source getting to know source, there will always be questioning of myself, and as I move through my experiences, for me, but I feel what you mean by it being a different frequency.
Yeah, because the answers don't have the
right.
answer,
I'm not looking without.
The way, the solution, or fill in whatever word you want for that, does not have to come in the form of a question, because that's a frequency. So, for example, if you're questioning something, there's a lack. So there's something, some answer, some knowledge, some device, some outcome, some, right? Fill in whatever it is, and you don't have it, so you've got to question that, or you give it to yourself and you question it, which comes in the trusting and all that. So, for example, can I go back to what I was talking about at the beginning of when we were talking about, start with this. People think about last year, because it was the beginning of the year. People think about last year, and they, well, they think they know what happened. Mm-hmm. They think they can ascribe, characterize what happened. But what's going to happen now? Because maybe they had attachment to certain things unfolding, or certain things happening, or whatever it is, right? Or because certain, in particular, specific things did not happen, then they read that as nothing happened, right? That's a very common thing.
Right.
And when you shift and step out of the questioning, so how would you, when you think of, we'll take the year 2019 just in general, and is the question of what's going to happen something that comes up a lot? Or you take the new earth and you say, well, what does that look like? Right? Mm-hmm. Or you take yourself personally, and what am I going to do, and where am I going to be in 2019? So I've just given you a variety of different things that are kind of common threads for this, so a lot of people can play with those. And when you do that, so again, this is not linear, so it's not good or bad. I'm just saying that stepping out of the frequency of questioning and letting your frequency, which is your specific singularities frequency that has, that color of knowing would be one way to describe it, right? Mm-hmm. You let that fully light up. So then you don't have to question something because you have a knowing. Because, well, first of all, here's just a little tip: you're a creator. So, because what you're not saying is, well, what is you might be asking what Lisa's, all those things that we talked about, or Beezy's is, right? No, you were looking at it for you. So when you move to the knowing, you're letting that light up, and those components come from the knowing because it's an energetic frequency. It's a solid, tangible, it's actually a touchable part of your reality, and you're the genesis of it.
I'll have to listen back to this one because I'm not quite sure I'm following it. I think I'm a little lost too in that and maybe it is part of my process, like you said, the puzzle piece thing, questioning. But
okay, so let's play with that for a minute.
Part of what we're doing. Hold on a second. Let me try to explain where I think because part of this I do see for me is the language in regards to questioning. Because, okay, if part of what, okay, I know I'm source. I know that I am source, a spark of source, whatever you want, a fractal of source. And I have gone out to have experiences and get to know myself on all sorts of levels.
Know yourself on all sorts of levels, not question yourself.
I get that. But as source, I've also purposely, not happy about it, but purposely veiled myself and set up certain parameters for me to discover. And part of discovering those things for me involve questioning, experiencing, and figuring out, collecting all that data with which to have that knowing. So
absolutely beautiful. I'm not arguing with any of that. I'm just saying that the questioning is a frequency, and with all that you are now and all that you've gone on your mission of your trajectory away from source, so all of us use, right, and the energies now and where we are now, and the click over the 31st of December and into the 1st of January was a big click to me. It was audible, click over, right? Now we step out of that frequency of questioning and into the frequency of knowing. So let me turn it around for a moment. When you say, well, I'm a puzzle piece collector. Well, how do you know which puzzle piece to collect? How do you know that that's a good puzzle piece?
Just feels good. Just feels
right. So do you spend a lot of time questioning which puzzle piece you're going to pick up?
Nope.
But why? That's part of your process. I'm playing with you now, but now you can see. Now you're not confused about the
now you know the frequency we're talking about.
Okay, I get it.
Let's take the language out of it, and we'll talk in frequency.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate that because no, you're right. I can feel immediately if there is even a shred of a corner of a puzzle piece in something that it interests me. Otherwise, I mean, because I've had puzzle pieces where I can feel the spin and the BS and the but there's at least one little nugget, it's not, sometimes you got to go through a whole crap ton of crap to get to that one little truthful nugget.
And you know it, right? So
right.
you're not sitting there going, well, I've got all these puzzle pieces. Now I'm going to question myself on which, because that highlights the questioning.
Are these the right pieces? Yeah.
No, that's true. Well, this actually, okay. See, now that actually goes to the thing when I said jokingly earlier, when you said know-it-all, I said, do you know who you're speaking to? Because that's what, okay, so that's what my knowing sometimes looks like out there. When I have had, you're so intimidating, or, you come off as a know-it-all, because that's what it looks like and sounds like sometimes when Smarmy gets involved. I know this, but I also now recognize that Smarmy might take over and cop an attitude, but Smarmy ain't wrong a whole lot of times either. So, that's why I said, yes, okay, I feel the frequency you're talking about now, though.
Yeah, and to expand on that frequency a little bit, to play with it, is that I'll describe something that I know every being on the planet has experienced at least once. Whether they honored themselves for it and paid attention, outright, I think that's at least once too. But anyways, you were thinking about doing something, or you felt the nudge to do something. So again, whatever the word is, don't hang up on the words, just my words that I use, because they, for me, carry the frequency that I want to deliver. And your mother, your parents, family, people at school, whatever it was, the whole cadre of people said, oh, no, you don't want to do that. That's not a good idea. Whatever it was. But you know that this is the right step, choice, action, whatever it is for you.
Yeah.
And so that's the shift in the frequency now. So because of where we are in this moment now, because of where we are in the frequencies that are coming out of us, as far as our conscious expansion and awareness, as far as what we have drawn in from all that is, from the central sun, from source, however you want to frame it, it's just wider and wider apertures, and that we're transmitting out. So we're swimming in those frequencies. They generate from within each of us first. That's, again, linear. It was first to last. That's all linear, but to put a placeholder on. And because of all of that, with the click that we've just had, 2.5 days ago, 3 days ago, it's very supportive for each being to step out of the questioning. And one of the reasons that it's very supportive to do that is that when you fire up, magnificently reveal your knowing and step in that, you actually bring what you want to you, because you manifest it out there, because everything starts in the antimatter, in the non-physical. Again, different apertures of what it is, but at the base, it's antimatter. So making that shift in and stepping out of one frequency, which again in linear is a habit, is a predilection, is a preference, is a rut, is of doing that, and in the knowing. So you could, for you, Sheila, because you like the idea of questioning, right? You also like the idea of playing with. So if a question comes up, you could go notice it and say, well, I'm going to set that question over here for a minute. And now I'm going to play with my knowing of something that had the same name, the same contextual. Does that make sense?
Actually, I think I do that seamlessly too, Lisa and I, because the way you just worded that, that happens a lot around.
You're allowing yourself to get very caught up on the label of everything is in a very sharp box.
No, you're right. No, but the way she just worded that, though, I can see, and you know what I'm talking about too, don't you, Lisa?
Yes.
We'll be talking about something, and there'll be a question, and I'll just say no. That's and we'll find out a minute or two later that it was right. It's like so yeah, I see what you're saying there. That
So
happened.
in this exchange right here, what you're showing to yourself is that the box of questioning, the box of my process, the way that you illustrated it here has a frequency, and because it's a habit, because it's the way you've always done it, because it's your process, because it's the thing you do, right? There's a wanting to hold on to it, yet you're already doing what we're talking about is letting, and what the only part you're haven't fully played with is and fully light up your frequency of knowing. Because when you fully light up your frequency of knowing, then the actual word that begins with a Q and ends with a G, right, can go away. And does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So one of the things in this is to start to understand frequency. Because Lisa's right, people will get hung up on a word, not realizing that the word, especially and how they're flowing with it, holds a frequency. And the frequency is actually thwarting them from what they're saying, claiming, putting energy into that they want to know, to understand, to experience, to create. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's why the reframing is so important. I think for myself, that's helped me tremendously.
Well, what helps me the most is continued conversation in regards to because it is difficult. The language is difficult because of each's, and I feel like it will just continue. I think it'll be it's going to get more difficult actually before it gets better, because of how many folks now are beginning to hold. And I think folks are a little more willing to see, well, my definition of this is different. When I first felt into that whole thing about my definition of love is because that's where this all started for me, was the way folks were perceiving love was so different. And actually, like I've said before, Bradley Love's The Esoteric Con of Man really opened my eyes to how differently we all perceive. Even a definition of a word doesn't matter. It's your experience of that word that counts. So we can say the word questioning, and it could mean 55 different things to 55 different people.
Right, but in here the frequency is a particular.
I know, and it took you to explain it to me. I mean, I had to. That's what I'm saying. Continued conversation, because until I
Okay.
grasp.
So I'll jump next to, remember, I helped with some clarity when I was talking about the puzzle pieces. Well, do you question that? No, I know it. No. And I'm certain that I know it, and I don't know. So this one. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm done with that. So great. Okay. So when you step out of the questioning and you fully light up your knowing, you could, because frequency, when you get to a certain point of allowing, you can see the frequencies. Okay, so when you fully step into it, it has more complexity to it. It has more color to it. It has more resonance to it, right? It has more richness to it, let's say. Okay, between the fully stepping into and just doing the rope-a-dope with it occasionally, kind of a thing. Okay. So if you let go of the question on something and instead step into the knowing, you're now bringing other aspects of you, other frequencies of you to join with that, because the frequency of being a creator, right? The frequency of you materialize that what you're putting your energy into, right? And we already know that this happens in different ways, because we know from a very linear perspective, if we pay attention, that if I bitch and moan all the time and think about all of the bad things that are going to happen and just keep scripting all these things, it's really bloody annoying that all those things show up. And, it's kind of annoying. So
Yeah, that's that pesky creator thing getting in your way, by the way.
Right. So if you're fully letting up your knowing and stepping out of the questioning frequency, okay, then it's not what's going to happen or, what am I going to do? It's, wow, I enjoy this. I want to materialize this, right? I want to feel this way. Okay, now I'm nudged to take this step and this step and this step and this step. Or have, this interaction, or be at this place. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I feel the frequency now that you're referring to. And okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I feel that. I feel it completely. You see, yeah.
And it's a choice to be there or not be there.
Right.
In every moment of now.
Right.
Yes. Well, that's why I was having trouble with it, because some of that questioning, which in my terminology is quite delicious for me. And I'm enjoying every moment of my experience just now. So I was like sitting here going, wait a minute, what's wrong with the way I'm doing? So, but I feel the difference now.
Oh, good, because I'm pretty sure even on a linear thing, I didn't say there was not a darn thing wrong with what you're doing.
I know you didn't. I didn't say you did.
I'm certain of that.
No, that was all within over here.
I know it unequivocally.
I know you might have thought that's what I meant, but no. I immediately went to questioning myself. Right. See?
So again, and then when you're playing with the frequency, when you step out of, here's the thing that I think this highlights is.
Oh, hold up. I'll tell you one thing it highlighted for me. Oh, this was beautiful, actually. It's beautiful because I wasn't on the same page at all at first. And now I really get what you're talking about.
You were on the same page all the time. You just didn't see it yet.
No. You're right.
Yeah.
Well, oh, and another way to say that is,
Yeah. Oh
most
God.
of you would.
No, I'm sorry. It's just that I got something in my head. It was like, yeah, it's that old, you can't see your butt because you're sitting on it thing.
Oh.
Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say it a little nicer, but
I'm just telling you what I got. That's all.
So when we can make the choice, because that's what it is, as Lisa pointed out, it's everything is a choice. What you could look at and feel into all the conversations that we have is owning the fact that it's a choice and that you're choosing. Because you're doing it unconsciously, because you're doing it from a judgment base or a habitual base or a rut base. Great. Okay, that's the way you're characterizing it. And since it's you and you're doing it, then you're the expert on you and you're doing it. So I know you know how to characterize it. That's terrific. But you're also not, in that acknowledging that you're choosing, because you're not owning your choices, because it's easier to say, well, I would never do that, or and give it off to somebody else. And just as the questioning, that frequency of questioning is giving it off to somebody else, because then if it doesn't happen, we can blame it on somebody else. And we're stepping into the energies of being fully ourselves. Another way to linearize the description, we're stepping into being galactic citizens. The way I would characterize it is we're stepping into being part of the galactic community. And when you do that, or in order to do that, the frequency one holds needs to be a match and in a flow to that. And not being responsible and accountable, right? And liable for all that you are and you create, and the power and magnificence that you have will preclude you from being in that frequency of larger and larger consciousness expansion communities, just as to put it in more linear terms. And that's why if we go to the knowing, if we're looking at playing something, if it makes people nervous to play with this or even think about doing it, then just play with it for a minute. You can go right back to the questioning and go right back to that, and put the power outside of you, and that's your choice, and that's great. And then you'll get what you are scripting, because that's how it works. And that's not good or bad. It's actually spectacular, because that's a pretty nice power to have. So when you let go of the questioning, when you step out of it, and you fully light up your knowing, it's a different way to play it. So one of the things that I wanted to go on this thread is Sheila said, well, I like, and I don't know, maybe this was just before, in the way you were holding the conversation, but I'm having great fun with my questioning, because it's providing richness.
To be clear too, my questioning is of myself, and part of, I think, my original misunderstanding in regards to this entire thing was that I was reading this as a questioning of myself. I no longer look outside of self for answers. to things in regards to self. It's all questioning of self.
And do you not look outside of self for questions because you have knowings?
I'm trusting what I'm getting. So yes.
So you have knowings.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Right.
So this is the same process inside of yourself. Letting go of the frequency of questioning, and we'll just say a thought form floats in. Can you think of one recently, a question that you could share? We're not going to go into the question. I just want to have it hold something up there.
Yeah, I can think of something.
Okay, what is it?
Oh, I thought we weren't sharing.
No, I said we don't have to share, but can you share it? And you said yes.
No, I'm not prepared to share that right now.
Okay, so a thought comes up. When am I going to get abilities? I look at a certain person over there, and she's doing that. When am I? Is that fair? That's a play. We'll play with that one.
Yeah, we can play with that one. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, because
I've let that go because I realize I would have those abilities. But go ahead. Let's use that one.
So when you step out of the frequency of questioning, and this thought form comes along, oh, I noticed that ability over there, and so the thought form is playing, right? You could say it as a question, but instead of questioning it and putting more, what you're doing is matching more energy to the frequency of the questioning. You instead go, oh, okay, well, I'm making a choice point here, and I'm going to choose to step in my knowing. So then you're playing with the knowings. I know that I'm seeing more. So it could be more cognitive knowing. It could be more knowing. What I'm really trying to get at is the knowing part, but sometimes it helps people if they kind of do it in the linear way, right? Oh, well, I notice I've noticed different things. I notice that I'm getting better at this. So that might be how you're going. And it's to dive through the knowing until you get in the fully lighting up, which is what we're talking about, your knowing. And you get to that knowing because it just is, and it's there, and you pay attention to it. You notice it. You are subject to one another. You let it reveal something. You're seeing what it's beholding for you, right? So all the different things that I talk about. That's why I use a lot of different words, because somewhere along the line, people will catch the energy frequency and where their experience, what it means. And so now when you do that, you can bypass the questioning altogether, because you're meeting and interacting with and stepping fully into that knowing of what it is. And so someone just said, well, what if the knowing doesn't answer the question? What the knowing has brought you is that there's more clarity. I want to learn, do, have, whatever, X, Y, and Z, right? I appreciate, or I honor, or, so you're using different add-ons to expand that frequency of knowing, because now it's becoming apparent to you. I have a knowing of a nudge. Oh, look at that. I'm thinking with this, playing with this thought form of knowing, and what do I know, and what's the feeling, what's the resonance in me, and I just got a nudge. And hey, look at this. I've allowed myself, through noticing in different choice points, when I get a nudge, it's helpful, even if I think it's the most cockamamie idea I've ever heard of, I go play with it. So in this process, I'm playing with this, and a nudge comes along. So I have a knowing of a nudge, a knowing to trust the nudge. I go off and trust the nudge, however that shows up. And that's helping me with this knowing of whatever it was that I started with. Because it's not linear. we're not linear. We're multidimensional.
Right.
And our multidimensional is showing now. In fact, it won't go away. It won't hide anymore. It won't go underneath the rug, right?
Nope. Nope.
And so this is why we're having this conversation that it came in today to play with. You could say it's kind of the multidimensional, first couple days of the year, making lists and this and the other thing. Okay, good. So make the list. Step out of the frequency of questioning, and fully into the frequency of knowing. Because it gives you you're not losing it if you love the questioning and that interplay and that exchange and that experience and that whole thing that you're mining for these things. Well, if you like that, then holy smokeroonies, when you step fully into the knowing, you're gonna love that. Because now you're off, in the fantastical and flying and connecting the puzzle pieces and all these different things, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's coming forth. So here's another thing, when you're just on the puzzle piecing. So when you're fully in that frequency of knowing, a puzzle piece can come by and you can see and go, well, I have a knowing that's not the full extent of that puzzle piece, but I'm going to put it right here and I'm just going to let it sit. Like what I do for the IUV and stuff, I have all these different tabs open, and by having it there and having it in my field and on the board, we'll say, so there's an awareness of it, there's a noticing of it, and the byplay that comes in. The next pieces will come, and that's just there to hold the conduit, the road open. I'm trying to think of a good metaphor that goes with this. And then the other one comes in and that one goes. So I already have that knowing. When I see it, I know that that's the dot and the purpose of this dot. And it's great, and it goes there, right? And then the other one comes along. So there's lots of different ways that people are already doing this by understanding and acknowledging your own way of doing things, and understanding and acknowledging that the frequency of those things and the frequency of questioning, right? You can move to this one, which is it's a step beyond. It gives you all, this is kind of funny, but if you've ever looked at there's like a sales page on a website, and there's different columns, and there's this item, and they have the little boxes ticked off going down, and so that's the basic, and this and this and this, and it's free, and then the next one is this, and it's right. Okay, so you see that. So what I'm saying is the frequency of stepping fully into the frequency of knowing, it ticks all of the boxes in the questioning and this and that and the other thing. Get there, you get all that, but wait, there's more. You get all this other stuff, right? Because it's pulls it all in, and the really cool thing is that it has one of those, I don't know why my marketing days are coming in, but it has the the gold. This is the platinum package, and the platinum package, right, is pulling in the feeder lines for all of the other things that are the truth of who you are. So your creator being, all those kinds of things, and as the knowing comes in, it just clicks into those, and you're streaming out this fantastical and building this. And does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense, because the one of the biggest, I'll say, alchemical changes for me was the realization that my process was absolutely unique to me, and relaxing into it and being okay with it and no longer questioning it, belittling it, thinking that it was not something that it wasn't as good as or whatever. As soon as I stopped trying to compare what I was doing to where anyone else was or how anyone else did it, and just realized that it's going to be unique for everyone. I mean, really, really, absolutely, that's the way it is. And as soon as I relaxed into that, it was like a whole, that conduit that you said, think of fiber optic, a while back they came out with some of those like lamps that had fiber optic things that would spray out like this.
I was thinking of, they're
yes.
so pretty.
It was like it was clogged or something, and that just
because you stepped out of the frequency of the question. Would it be fair to say that you had a knowing that this was your process and this was unique to you and it was spot on megalicious?
Yes, but it was it was like an epiphany sort of thing. It was energetic. It was an alchemical thing. It was a
instant awakening.
It really was.
And you got there because you let go of the frequency of questioning.
Yes.
I can see that now, but I didn't hold it in that fashion. But I see what you're referring to. So yes, I get you. I got it. Yeah. Because I was looking out, and to be fair, I still hear, and this is part of the puzzle piece thing, I still will, anything that I hear that someone else is doing that they enjoy, I like to experience that for myself to see if it's something I'd like to incorporate into what I am doing or not, because I am collecting data and experiencing different things. And how do I know if I don't like sushi if I don't try it, right?
Yeah, that's a different frequency.
But okay.
Not the sushi, what you just described.
No, I know, but see, for me, that was the frequency of questioning I just was describing there. So you're right. That's what I'm saying. See, I was holding it differently, is what I'm saying, than what you meant. And so that's what I was describing there. Okay, well, that's cool. Well, I really was holding it differently. So, but yes, that was like as if a roto-rooter plumber had come over and just opened up a great big old clog. The minute I settled into that and stopped questioning that, yes, it's like an entire, I don't know.
Because so here, let me just, the last thing I'll say on this is that you're in doing what you did, in stepping out of the frequency of the questioning. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And stepping into the knowing of it. So they can happen simultaneously. You don't, it's not like, oh, I do this and then I wait a couple of days and, a friend comes over and right. And as you said, it's that, like a roto-rooter came with a clog, because only you can, it's free will zone. So the totality of you can't say, if you just move this thing. Okay, so to go back to so this is a nice way to tie it together. So remember earlier in the conversation, she said, but wait a minute, that doesn't make sense, because if we're source going to know source, right, and we gave ourselves a value, everything, hence why that team, the way Lisa calls it, and all those different things, can't say, hey, Sheila, just, pull that plug, and because it has to be a choice, because you're going forth to know source, right? And oh, look at that. If I step out of this and immediately that's allowing me, I'm choosing, so we could put all those, from all the different parts around the circle in that, to be in my knowing, fully in my knowing. And
yeah.
So that gave permission. That said, yes, bring it on. Right?
Yes.
And then all that can flow.
I see that is absolutely the case too, because at that same time, with that same epiphany came, with that same thing, knowing this was my process, came the knowing that that I did set all this up, and that if I don't know something right now, there's a damn good reason for that. There's a damn good reason, and I have seen the wisdom of my setting all of this up in exactly the way I have now. I can really see. Because I've spent a lot of time looking at me, my past, my whole, everything leading up to this moment of now, and wow.
And so that knowing then guides you. So stepping out of the frequency of questioning and into the frequency of knowing, right? That doesn't mean at that moment you're choosing and you're fully aligned to know all, to have all of the knowing come in. But it sure, from a linear perspective, alleviates a lot of questioning oneself and going around the bush and yada, 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 and keep going around, because you have a knowing that this is how it is. And so then you play with the other things that you encounter, that you choose to encounter, that you bring forward, all those different ways you could say it. And your knowing springs from that.
Yes.
And rather than trying to rock the cage and pick the lock. And
well, that's where I was going to go with that next, because what you were saying there, it's exactly correct. Because part of what I was saying to you was that I relaxed into the process and my knowing, and with that came the knowing, the knowledge, the comfort, if you will, too, of, well, not just the comfort. It's actually even quite exciting, knowing that that all will be revealed in the time of my choosing, actually, and that that as I am eternal, that I'm here to enjoy this experience, and I am enjoying the hell out of this experience. And so it's like all of that sort of came in all at the same time, is what I'm saying here, in that it's relaxing into the knowing of okay, yeah, of it is that. No, I can see very clearly now what you meant by that, BC. Yeah, relaxing into it was the key for me. It was like a roto-rooter moment, honest to God.
It's like that levitation bit, right? You gotta just really sink in.
Yes, we've talked about that quite a bit here recently, because that's what I keep feeling. It's the relaxing in, that sinking down in, the breathing into, the leaning into the corner of it, the just knowing into it. I don't know how else to say it, but that's it. That is it. It is that.
And the in part is on the list here, because that opens up a lot too. So
we'll
get to that one.
Yeah. Oh my, I'm freezing all of a sudden. So, wow. Thank you, both of you, again, as always.
Yeah.
So
This didn't pan out the way you thought.
No, not at all. Not at all. But then, you know, most of the time they never do. It's a good thing I enjoy this kind of thing, right? Well, I mean, I always learn so much too about myself, about this whole thing, about everything, and it's just, I just love it. So, is there anything else that either one of you would like to add to this one? No?
No, thanks for playing.
Yeah. I really appreciate it. Well, and I would love, so we'll have everybody's contact information as usual in the description box below this video. And till next time.